What is the best use of prestidigitation that you've ever seen? Let us know in the comments below. Giving ice flavor at a festival and selling it. When I played spellcasters, I always made them kind of fussy about appearance and cleanliness, constantly using Presto to mend and clean clothes. Go to an inn and use it to clean the seat and table, chill the drink, that sort of thing. Make poisoned wine taste like regular wine. I once used it in combat with a pack of large rats. The Rows were ganging up on a low-health character, so I made the paladin tank smell like cheese, causing them to divert their attack long enough for the other to heal. Not me, but a fellow party member once used it to soil a man's pants in front of his wife. That same party member later picked up a rock, flavored it like honey, and rolled it around in his mouth for an hour. My paladin did a quick unsheath of his sword, then my bard cast prestidigitation to soil a guard's shirt with blood. They wanted to convince him that he'd been cut in half. The party was split in a swamp. The wizard used the spell to leave markers for the other party to find them. Basically, we were having an adventure in the Feywild about level 4 or 5 before we ended up at a carnival, where we luckily managed to just walk in because they weren't checking for tickets. They had a bunch of rigged games in there, but being a bunch of adventurers, we managed to clear them all out, winning a handful of uncommon items. The final game was actually just dice run by a guy named Mr. Witch, except you had to gamble magic items. He had like 5 pretty desirable magic items, about 2 uncommon and 3 rare items. While the rogue had a charlatan die and managed to win one of the uncommons, our barbarian bet too much for an uncommon and a rare and ended up losing an uncommon and being in debt for a rare that he didn't have. My sorcerer pulls up and offers a final game, for keeps, the entire lot of magic items he has and clear the debt, and in return, he would bet all his magic items and even his name. This got Mr. Witch thinking. He couldn't pass an opportunity like this. We played, but the rogue passed me the charlatan die, and as we sat down to play dice, my sorcerer subtly cast Cause Fear to buff his bluffing skills and give Mr. Witch disadvantage on all his checks. With the rolls rigged in his favor, my sorcerer just barely managed to win the dice game and cleared him out, but before Mr. Witch gave him the items, he turned to him and smiled, and the only thing he asked was, "All right, but first, let me see your ticket." The whole table stops. We're all going wild. My sorcerer says, "All right, fine." Reaches into his bag and subtle spell cast prestidigitation to use the trinket effect to make a ticket, and hands him the ticket. While I was fully prepared to spend more source points casting it multiple times since it only lasts 6 seconds, the DM said it wasn't necessary, describing Mr. Witch as taking the ticket, inspecting it, before crushing it in his hands and handing it back with a forced smile. And then we walked away from the carnival with every single magic item they had, all thanks to prestidigitation. Well, the other night, I used it to shoot sparks into the air out of my hands while the party rode an infernal war machine into battle against a rival gang. My DM had me roll an Arcana check and I rolled a 24. He described the sparks trailing the war machine as about 20 feet long. A naval campaign, whole crew was at sea for the majority of the time. The prized object on board was a wand of prestidigitation that was passed around in lieu of bathing. The crew was small enough that everybody got to use it every other day or so, keeping everyone healthy and happy on the long voyages. More of a flavor thing, but it was still a fun detail. Somehow, we're currently taking a baby with us through the Feywild of all places, being pursued by the Winter Queen's army. She wants the baby for some reason. Prestidigitation is keeping the baby reasonably clean, warm, entertained, and making the food for the baby and the rest of us more palatable. Mending and prestidigitation. I have a player who's a dwarven banker, but he's also a barbarian. He's wearing a fancy suit that tears Hulk style when he starts to rage. So after a battle, you see him meticulously mending and cleaning his suit to look dapper once more. I was the DM, and my players were fighting against these rich assholes that wore basically diving suits with a bubble over their head so they wouldn't breathe the same air as the poor folk around them. Our kobold bard used prestidigitation to fill his face bubble with poop. Chef kiss baby, mwah! In the campaign that I'm in, there's a marsh that's basically a maze that leads to a witch's home. One wrong turn and it sets you back to the start of the marsh, so we were trying to remember what paths we have and haven't been to. One player started the idea, and since I also had Presti, we both worked together on this. The player started using it to mark what paths we've been to and if they were correct or incorrect. Since we were 2 PCs and had Presti, we were able to make 6 markings to keep track of where we were, and luckily, if I'm correct, there were maybe 4 to 5 paths to reach the witch's home. Now also, another time we were traveling in a snowy mountain range where we had a high chance of slowing down due to snowstorms, meaning it was a long trip. To stay warm, I used Presti to warm up the seats, beds, etc. For myself or others who were using them. I did at one moment warm up the seat of a PC without them knowing, which did spook them and became a funny moment. In a Pathfinder game, High Five, there was an inn called the Hagfish that had a contest where you bet you could down a mug of water filled with hagfish slime. And if you could pass the fairly high con check, you got all the money in the pot so far. We were all fairly low level, but the barbarian and fighter both goaded each other into trying and failing. So I, the 8-con wizard, used prestidigitation to clean the water as I drank, and of course won with no check. Make a tombstone dirty to make the words easier to read, similar to when you use a wash on a miniature to bring out the edges of details. To near instantly dry out waterlogged wood to make it able to be burned. To superficially make a meal unpalatable for an NPC, then make it palatable for a starving PC once it was discarded. On thaumaturgy, you never need to risk opening an unlocked door ever again. Slam it open to trigger any traps safely from a distance. Slam doors on NPC enemies trying to enter or leave the room. Prestidigitation, thaumaturgy, mending, light. Dumb cantrip spells that would be so OP useful in real life, I agree. Once to mask the taste of poison being dumped in a pot of stew at an enemy camp. Also used it to clean up evidence of a fight so that the party could ambush some werewolves returning to their cave. I was playing a Warforged wizard and I used prestidigitation to make my head appear like a flaming skull for intimidation checks using a modification of the shower of sparks mentioned in the spell text. My DM allowed me to roll with advantage for that one. In the wise words of Captain Holt, grenades. We asked our DM if prestidigitation actually vanished dirt or created the illusion of dirt being gone, and if undoing this spell would bring the dirt back. He said yes. We proceeded to fill a bottle with dirt, cast clean, refill it with dirt, cast clean again, etc., and so on. Repeated about 5 times. Then throw it and undo all prestidigitation casts. The bottle refills with 5 times the dirt it can hold and explodes. DM let us get away with it. One of the top 5 moments of that campaign. My player used prestidigitation to make a rude NPC look and smell as if he had crapped himself. Said, "The spell says I can use it to clean or soil. I'd say soil is appropriate." Used the silence spell and still spell meta magic feats, so it wasn't obvious that it was him. Ooh, very, very funny. I made a spooky boogeyman type PC. Whenever he stared at a person he wanted to frighten, he would cast a prestidigitation cantrip to snuff out all the candles and flames in the immediate area and make a chill run up or down his target's spine. I made a butler PC who would use the prestidigitation cantrip to keep his master's clothes clean, wrinkle-free, and fresh smelling, as well as chill, warm, and season his food just the way he likes it. I made an assassin PC who cast the prestidigitation cantrip to make a knife materialize in his hand that lasts just long enough for him to use it, then it disappears without a trace. I used it once to set a campfire alight, causing it to burn a boar to death. It was the only time I managed to do damage with a non-damaging cantrip. Convincing a down-on-his-luck priest who believed he was abandoned by his god that he hasn't been abandoned after all. There was also a sleight of hand check and at least one deception check involved, if I remember correctly. Starting bar fights by making ales and beers being delivered taste like curdled milk. Okay, that's just cruel. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and let us know in the comments below. What's the best use of prestidigitation that you ever seen? And of course, if you ever want to support us, you can check out all of our social media profiles, mine being Brian Von VA basically everywhere. And if you want to support the channel, keep us growing, and keep us making videos for all you good boys, girls, and anyone in between, join our membership program. That allows us to do more for you. We love you all. Please be safe, happy, and healthy. We'll see you next time. Toodaloo for now.